Hello and welcome to the last episode of the podcast. I'll get more to that later at the end of the episode. But what I first want to get into is Deutsche Bank, the next Lehman Brothers. So if you've been following the stock price of Deutsche Bank and what's been going on with them is essentially their stock is hitting all-time lows. There's a lot of similarities between what happened in the 2008 financial crisis with the Lehman Brothers going down and taking down the entire stock market and economy with it. Deutsche Bank is a much bigger bank. Like Lehman Brothers was just a small, tiny bank, and that was enough to take down the entire stock market. Deutsche Bank owns a bunch of banks, so it's like a bunch of Lehman Brothers going out of business if that fails. And just today, there was an article that came out where they spun off $50 billion in bad assets into another company, basically another bank, which holds all these $50 billion in bad assets, which the European taxpayer is now paying for. Like, it's already starting to fall apart, and there's all this propaganda going on where they're like, oh no, like it's totally fine, like don't worry about it, buy Deutsche Bank stock, ignore what's going on. It's just fascinating. It's like literally like history is repeating itself. There's so many similarities between Deutsche Bank and Lehman Brothers. It's kind of crazy what's going on. With the Fed yesterday announcing that they're not going to lower interest rates, even though a lot of people were speculating they were, there's now a prediction of 100% that they're going to cut in July. And it is a bit delayed, but it almost always leads to a recession happening. It's kind of fascinating. Like, you got Trump saying like the Fed needs to cut, the Fed needs to cut, the Fed needs to cut, but then they're like not listening to Trump, which is kind of interesting. And then he's threatening like, oh, maybe I'll get rid of Powell, but I don't know if he actually can. I guess some people are like, oh, he can, and other people are like, no, he can't. So kind of interesting what's going on there. But I think Trump's going to do everything he can to try to keep the economy going well until the 2020 election. But I don't know if he'll be able to do it because it's like everything's already starting to fall apart. Like, you got collateralized loan obligations, which are, it's the same thing as CDOs back in 2008. It's just with different assets instead of with housing assets, which there's still some with housing assets. They're just with, subprime car loans instead of subprime, home loans. It's just with the different assets, but it's like it doesn't matter what the asset is because you could, speculate as much as you want, dollar amount wise. It doesn't matter what the asset is. It's just like, what are the rates you give me for, the loan falling apart, the loan succeeding, and the insurance on that loan. And Bitcoin has been going through the roof, gold's been going through the roof, silver's been going through the roof. Like, all the like anti-stock market assets are like spiking, and everyone's predicting that they're going to cut in July. So it'll be fascinating to see what goes on there. Maybe July will start to be like how kind of January and December were, where it was like things kind of were tanking really fast, and then Trump starts tweeting buy signals on Twitter, and it gets pumped back up. I don't know if Trump will be able to stave off the economy crashing before the election, and if that happens, like one of the Democrats offering a bunch of freebies might actually, it's probably their best chance of winning, honestly, like, because Trump's been claiming full credit for the economy, so if it goes down he should get the full blame, right? But of course he's probably going to blame someone else. He's probably going to blame Powell if the economy goes down, because he's going to say like, oh, the Fed should have cut rates sooner. If they cut them sooner, then we wouldn't be in this mess. Yeah, I saw an interview with the guy that wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Actually, I've been seeing a couple of interviews on YouTube that he's done, and he's saying that we've been in a depression basically since 2008, which was like, whoa, like that's the first person I've ever heard say that like he has like a year's worth of silver, gold, and cash to pay his employees basically if there's like a total credit freeze. And he's predicting like, yeah, like we've been in a depression, I guess, since 2008, and it's like we haven't really recovered, and we're about to go into another recession, or like just continue the I don't know. It's kind of fascinating. It's like, yeah, he might be right, but there has been a bit of a recovery in the stock market, but it's like more of the wealth has gone to the top 1% than distributed to everyone in the country. But it's definitely fascinating just kind of hearing that from someone with that much of a stature. That's where something like Andrew Yang's policy of universal basic income is actually not like a terrible idea. It's like, I don't know, they might have to print money just to keep the whole economy going. I mean, that's what they do to bail out the bankers when the bankers fail, right? Like, that's what they're doing with Deutsche Bank. It's like they're failing, so what do? They spin off the bad assets and the taxpayers pay for it. I mean, it's like they do it for the banks, they do it for the elites. Why not just do it for everybody? So right now, with all the central banks trying to keep this phony economy going, you got Facebook now creating their own, what they call a cryptocurrency. It's called the Facebook Libra. And basically, it's not really a cryptocurrency. They're just calling it that to get I don't know, more people excited about it, I guess. But it's really just like their version of PayPal, where it's their own digital currency, but it has nothing to do with the benefits of cryptocurrency, which is like, it being decentralized and not based off of fiat currency. But like the Facebook Libra, which is what it's called, they're going to base it off the US dollar, which is like, why would you do that? And then secondly, it's not decentralized at all. Facebook has full control over it. So they're basically their own central bank now. Like they can print this just like the central bank does, and it costs them zero because it's just numbers on a screen. I'm kind of amazed that central banks are kind of letting Facebook get away with this, which makes me think that they're probably invested in it. If they're going to let a central bank be formed by some random company, definitely the existing central banks, they have to be involved, because there's no way they would just let someone do that, right? And compete with them, the central banks of all the countries in the world. It doesn't make any sense that they would allow competition at that level to succeed. But I did see like one or two articles saying that politicians are starting to go after Facebook. They're like, look, like they're trying to compete with our banking system with the US dollar, which I guess that's why they're like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg is like saying like, oh, we'll base the Libra off the dollar. So like the Libra's trying to work with the dollar. Like, I don't know what their long-term strategy is. I think Mark Zuckerberg's long-term strategy is he wants to control the world, just like John D. Rockefeller tried to do and succeeded at a lot. And I mean, it's kind of interesting though, but there's actually some politicians that are going after Facebook, and they're like, we can't let Facebook run their own Federal Reserve. Like, nobody wants that. Nobody trusts Facebook with that level of power. And then there's this whole thing of like, they're talking about possibly breaking up the big tech giants. So it's like, it's very weird timing for Facebook. They're probably doing it because they're like, look, we might be broken up anyway, so we might as well implement the long-term plan right now, because we might be broken up next year or 2 years from now. So might as well implement the long-term plan of having our own central bank, which is like, yeah, they're definitely trying to control everyone. But I don't know if it'll work though, because like everyone that's into crypto, they know this is like not crypto at all. So unless they offer something like a really good deal to like sign up, or they just give like people that use facebook.com based on like, likes and views and stuff, and they just give you cryptocurrency basically for it, I don't see why people would start using Facebook Libra, because it's just like no one trusts Facebook. So they would have to offer like an amazing deal for someone to sign up for it, basically like free money they'd have to give you, or free Libra that you can cash out for money, right? And their whole marketing pitch is like, oh, this is a stable coin. And it's like, but the whole point is to get away from fiat currency, because they're just printing the money, and they're basically just stealing wealth from everyone that owns fiat currency, right? To pay off their own debt. So it's like, that's the entire point of crypto. So there's no centralized, organization that can print the money to benefit themselves. That's why people are into crypto. And Libra has nothing to do with that. It's just totally Zuckerberg's gonna try to control everything and just print money to pay his own debts, or buy up other businesses, or buy governments, or whatever. And it's also like he's kind of acting like he's above the law too. Like Canada requested that he go to some hearing by like the Canadian Congress, I think, or I don't know what, some government body wanted to question Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Zuckerberg just didn't show up. So like he's already acting like he's above the law, which is a little bit scary. He's acting like he's above the law. He's got his own central bank, does whatever the fuck he wants with his own company. I mean, it's kind of crazy what's going on. But I don't know, if I was another tech company, I'd maybe like maybe Google should start their own cryptocurrency, maybe Apple should, or really any business. Like, why not? Ford's gonna start their own cryptocurrency. Walmart's got their own cryptocurrency. Amazon's got their own cryptocurrency. Like, why not? If they can allow any company in the world to become their own central bank, then why not? I mean, once the cat's out of the bag, I don't see why every business wouldn't start doing it. Which might destabilize the whole system if there's too many companies at once doing it. But definitely be fascinating to see what goes on with that. Yeah, I was watching one of Tim Pool's videos, and man, he's really been crushing it lately. Like, I'm definitely a fan of his channel. He's got a lot of breaking news stories going on. And what he was saying about YouTube, what he's been hearing rumors of, is that essentially YouTube wants to compete with Netflix, and they want to basically hand pick YouTubers that are going to be monetized in the future so they can give them a higher CPM. And the CPM is basically how much money you make per 1,000 views. So they want to hand pick like 1,000 top YouTubers, and only they're going to be monetized in the future. So they can pay them kind of the same money that a show on Netflix get, like millions of, like 6 figures or 7 figures, to be monetized on YouTube. So it's like, if that, I mean, it's just a rumor at this point. Who knows if that's true? But like, so if you make it in that small group, then you're gonna make way more money. But if you don't make the cut, which is gonna be mostly everyone on YouTube for the most part, then like basically there's no more monetization. And I don't know if that's gonna work. It seems like kind of a weird plan. It's like okay, let's take the thing we're good at and let's totally stop doing that and try something completely different. I mean, it could work, but I don't know. Just seems like a not well thought out plan. But yeah, be interested to see what happens more with that. Yeah, anyways, that's it for this podcast. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.